Listen to me. Everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to succeed. But the truth is, winners don't just want it. Winners build a system that produces it. You can't rely on motivation alone. You can't just get hype on Monday and then crash on Wednesday. You need a system. You need something that keeps moving even when you're tired, even when life hits you, even when nobody's watching. Champions don't wake up every day. Motivated, they wake up every day. Disciplined, they got a schedule. They got a structure. They got habits. That's the system. Michael Jordan had a system. Serena Williams had a system. Kobe, rest his soul, Mamba had a system. You think they showed up when they felt like it? No, they had a routine, a process, a way of life that didn't care about feelings. It was commitment over convenience. And let me tell you, success is not on its lease. Rent is due every day. You want to win? Build the system. Stop winging it. Stop starting over every week. Build something that holds you accountable even when you feel like quitting. Your talent, that's a gift. But that's your weapon. That's what separates you from the rest. That's how you win in the dark when nobody's clapping for you. So I need you to do something today. Stop dreaming and start designing. Write it out. Map it out. Lock it in. Build the system, then run the system, then run the system. Because when you build the system builds you. You can't trust your emotions, but you can trust your system. That's a hard truth most people never want to admit because emotions feel real. They feel urgent. They feel important. But here's the problem. Emotions are unreliable. They change with the weather. They shift based on who you're around, what you ate, how you slept, or even something as small as a social media post. If you live by emotion, you're setting yourself up to live inconsistently, and inconsistency will sabotage every dream you have. Let me be real with you. There are going to be days when you don't feel like working out, days when you don't feel like showing up to class, days when you don't feel like making that phone call, writing that page, shooting that content, or following your budget. There will be times you feel low, discouraged, angry, or afraid. If you let those feelings control your actions, you'll lose, period. But when you have a system, something outside your emotions that you follow regardless of how you feel, that's when the game changes. Because systems don't care how you feel. Systems don't check in to see if you're in the mood. A system is a decision made in advance that eliminates the need for motivation in the moment. Let's take elite athletes, for example. Do you think LeBron James wakes up every single day wanting to work out, train, study film, and eat like a disciplined machine? No, but he doesn't rely on desire. He relies on the structure. He relies on the system. The system is what gets him out of bed, into the gym, and out to the court, even on the days he doesn't feel like it. The same applies to you. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. A system creates boundaries. It creates structure. And most importantly, it creates predictability. Think about it. When you brush your teeth in the morning, you don't need motivation. It's automatic. You don't need someone to inspire you to take a shower or put on clothes. Why? Because it's built into your routine. It's part of the system you've run for so long that is now habitual. Now imagine applying that same level of automation that'll move your life forward. What if you had a system that guaranteed you woke up at 5 a.m. every day to work on your business for 2 hours before the world wakes up? What if you had a meal prep system that took the guesswork out of eating healthy? What if you had a content calendar that told you what to post, when to post, and how to post it? Removing emotion from the equation. You wouldn't be controlled by I don't feel like anymore. You'd be led by execution. You stop negotiating with yourself. That's what systems do. They take the emotional variability out of your success plan. Because let's be honest, your feelings will lie to you. They'll tell you to hit snow. They'll tell you that you deserve a break, even when you haven't earned it. They'll whisper, you can do it later, when you know deep down you need to do it now. Feelings are meant to be indicators, not dictators. You can acknowledge them, but you don't obey them. Your system is what you obey. Your system is the truth. It's the map. And if you've built it right, it will lead you to your goals, even if you're tired, discouraged, or unmotivated. Let's say you want to get in shape. If you rely on motivation, you'll work out on the days you feel pumped, Maybe that's Monday and Tuesday. But by Wednesday, your energy dips, you're sore, the weather's bad, work is stressful, so you skip. Thursday, you say you'll get back on track, but now the momentum is broken. By Friday, you've given up, and the weekend becomes an excuse to binge. That's what happens when you follow your emotions. Now imagine the same goal, but with a system. You've already blocked time in your calendar every morning at 6:30 a.m. Your gym clothes are laid out the night before. Your workouts are pre-planned and tracked. You have an accountability partner or a trainer waiting on you. It doesn't matter how you feel. The system is in motion. And once you show up, once you start moving, the emotion catches up to the discipline. That's the secret nobody tells you. Action creates emotion, not the other way around. When you move, you feel better. When you execute, motivation rises. If you wait to feel ready, you'll never begin. You have to lead with discipline. Lead with structure. That's why the system is more trustworthy than your emotions. It's the same in business. A content creator relies on inspiration, will post sporadically. One great video here, 2 weeks off. Another post, another break. No consistency, no growth. But a content creator with a system, a content strategy, a batching schedule, a posting calendar will show up whether they feel creative or not. And guess what? That consistency builds trust. That trust builds an audience. That audience builds a brand. Systems win. Emotion alone doesn't. Think about high-performing individuals across any field. Medicine, sports entrepreneurship, finance, education. They don't perform based on how they feel. They perform because their life is structured in such a way that success becomes automatic. Their decisions are not made daily. They're made once, then followed through over time. If you're tired of starting over, if you're tired of the emotional roller coaster, if you're tired of being inconsistent, it's time to stop depending on motivation and start building the system. Write down what you want. Break it down into steps. Schedule it. Remove decision fatigue. Automate what you can, and then follow the system. Trust the system. Let the system protect you from your weakest self. Because here's the truth. There will be days when your emotions are loud. Loud with fear, loud with doubt, loud with doubt, loud with laziness, sadness, or resistance. But if your system is strong enough, it will drown out the noise. It will carry you when your willpower can't. And it will produce results. Not once, not twice, but over and over again. So don't wait until you feel like doing, wait for inspiration to strike. Don't trust your emotions to build the life you want. Build the system and let the system build you. When you begin building any system, whether it's for your personal development, your business, your fitness journey, your finances, or your mindset, you have to understand one foundational truth. Consistency beats intensity every single time. This is not about how hard you go once. This is about how long you can go steadily. Most people think success is about going 100 miles an hour for a short burst. But real transformation happens when you commit to doing the small things, the right things every single day, even when you don't feel like it. Too many people start strong, but finish weak. They're motivated for a week, maybe a month. They hit the gym hard. They write goals down. They wake up early for a few days. And then the fire fizzles out because they were relying on hype, on emotion, on bursts of energy. But systems aren't built on emotion. They're built on habits. You can't build something great just by being excited. You have to be consistent. You have to show up when the emotion is gone. You have to execute when nobody's watching, when there's no applause, no likes, no recognition, just you and the grind. Consistency builds momentum. It compounds. Each time you show up, even in a small way, you're investing in your future self. You're laying brick in the foundation. One brick might not seem like much, but brick after brick, day after day, that's how buildings rise. That's how you construct a system strong enough to withstand pressure. That's how you build something that lasts. The truth is, the world doesn't reward potential. It rewards performance. And performance isn't a one-time act. It's a repeated behavior. The people you admire, the ones who seem to have it all together, they didn't just wake up successful. They built systems. They mastered consistency. They locked in routines. They made success automatic. It became who they are, not just what they do. Let's say you want to improve your health. It's not about doing a 7-day detox and starving yourself. That won't last. That's intensity without sustainability. But if you start drinking water every day, walking 30 minutes a day, eating one healthy meal a day, that's consistency. And over time, those small, consistent actions produce real, lasting results. The same principle applies to learning, business, relationships, and spiritual growth. But here's the challenge. Consistency is boring. It's repetitive. It's unsexy. There's no immediate reward. You don't always feel like it, and that's where most people fail. They think the system isn't working because the results are instant. But real systems aren't about instant gratification. They're about delayed gratification. They're about planting seeds, watering them daily, and trusting that the harvest will come in due time. And let me be real with you, it's going to get hard. There will be days you want to quit. There will be times when it feels like nothing is changing. But if you can push through those moments, if you can remain committed to the process regardless of how you feel, that's when the system starts to work for you. That's when breakthroughs happen. Not on day one, but on day 100. Not when it's easy, but when you persist through difficulty. Consistency also builds identity. Every time you follow through, you reinforce the belief that you are the kind of person who follows through. You build integrity with yourself. And when your identity aligns with your actions, that's when the real magic happens. You stop trying to change. You become changed. It's no longer something you do, it's who you are. Look at athletes, musicians, world-class performers. Their greatness isn't in their talent alone. It's in their discipline. They rehearse when nobody's watching. They train in silence. They master the fundamentals. They don't need motivation. They have structure. They have systems. And those systems produce consistent excellence. So what's your system? What are you doing daily to move closer to your goals? If your answer is inconsistent, then your results will be inconsistent. That's just reality. You can't expect elite outcomes with average habits. You can't expect growth if you're only working when you feel inspired. Discipline must lead, not emotion. And consistency doesn't mean perfection. You're going to miss days. You're going to fall off. You're human. But consistency means you bounce back. You don't let one bad day become a week. You don't let failure define you. You course correct and keep moving. Because progress isn't linear, it's messy. But the one who stays consistent in the mess is the one who crosses the finish line. Let's also talk about how consistency builds credibility. In relationships, in business, in leadership, people don't trust words, they trust patterns, they trust actions. If you say you'll show up and you don't, you lose credibility. But when you consistently show up, when your actions align with your values, people begin to trust you. They follow you. They believe in you. That's how influence is built, not by charisma, but by consistency. Now let's take it deeper. What's stopping you from being consistent? Is it laziness, fear, lack of clarity? The truth is, many people struggle with consistency because they haven't made a clear decision. They haven't burned the boats. They haven't fully committed. They're still giving themselves an out. But you can't be consistent if you're not committed. If your system is optional, it won't survive pressure. You have to make it non-negotiable. You have to decide that this is who you are now, and there's no turning back. That's why morning routines, weekly planning, accountability partners, all these tools matter. They make consistency easier. They remove willpower from the equation and replace it with structure. Because willpower fades, but systems sustain. If you rely on feeling like it, you'll fail. But if you build habits, routines, structures, you'll keep going even when you don't feel like it. And eventually, the feelings catch up with the actions. And let's not forget the spiritual side of consistency. If you're trying to grow in your faith, prayer once a month won't do it. Reading scripture once in a while won't change you. You have to consistently show up in the presence of God. That's how transformation happens. That's how you renew your mind. That's how you build spiritual resilience. Not through occasional encounters, but through daily devotion. So here's what I need you to do. Look at your goals. Break them down into daily actions. Make them small if you have to. Make them simple, but do them consistently. Build streaks, track progress. Celebrate win. And when you mess up, don't quit. Reset and continue. Because every day you show up, you're building. You're laying another brick. You're reinforcing the system. And over time, that system will produce fruit that no shortcut ever could. Remember, intensity might spark the fire, but consistency keeps it burning. If you want to win, If you want to grow, if you want to transform, build the system and then show up for that system every single day. No excuses, no shortcuts, just commitment, discipline, and trust in the process. That's how you build something that lasts. That's how you change your life. That's how you become unstoppable. What you do daily becomes who you are long term. That's the quiet truth behind every great success story. It's not about one big moment, one lucky break, or one burst of effort. It's the small, almost invisible actions repeated every single day that shape your identity, mold your character, and ultimately write the story of your life. Habits are the foundation of your future. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. You can dream big. You can set massive goals. But none of that matters if your daily habits don't align with those ambitions. The gap between who you are and who you want to be isn't filled with motivation or talent. It's filled with the tiny decisions you make when nobody is watching. That's why systems matter. Because systems are what give birth to habits, and habits are what determine your destiny. Think about it. If someone wants to be a writer, they don't need to write an entire book in a day, but they do need to write every day. If they write just 1 page per day, in a year, that's 365 pages. That's a full novel. 1 page per day doesn't sound like much. It's not flashy, but done consistently is powerful. That's the compounding power of habits. What seems small in the moment becomes monumental over time. Let's break it down even further. Every time you act, you cast a vote for the type of person you want to become. If you work out, you're casting a vote for becoming a healthy person. If you read, you're casting a vote for becoming a learner. If you save money, you're casting a vote for becoming financially disciplined. These votes add up. And the more votes you cast in one direction, the stronger that identity becomes. That's how habits shape identity. That's how routines carve character. But here's the challenge. Bad habits work the same way. If you hit snooze every morning, you're casting a vote for procrastination. If you scroll on your phone for hours, you're voting for distraction. If you eat fast food every day, you're voting against your health. These negative patterns might not ruin your life in a week or a month, but over time, they erode your potential. They become chains that are hard to break. The key is to become intentional, because the truth is, you're always building habits, whether you realize it or not. The only question is, are you building them by design or by default? Are you letting life shape you randomly, or are you shaping yourself deliberately? Successful people don't leave that to chance. They choose their habits the way an architect chooses material, carefully, strategically, purposefully. Look at anyone you admire, someone who's great at their craft. A top athlete, a brilliant entrepreneur, a skilled musician, a respected leader. I guarantee you, they have systems that create strong habits. They don't just perform well on stage or in the spotlight. They do the small things behind the scenes. The early mornings, the focused hours, the disciplined repetition. You don't see that on Instagram. But that's the real work, that's the difference maker. Even in your own life, think about the areas where you've grown. Maybe it's your physical health, your communication skills, or your spiritual life. Whatever it is, that growth came from consistent effort. It didn't come from one magical day. It came from choosing the right thing over and over, even when it was hard, even when it was boring. That's the truth about greatness. It's not glamorous. It's not exciting all the time, but it's powerful and it pays off in the long run. Let's talk about how to build habits that last. First, start small. One of the biggest mistakes people make is trying to overhaul everything at once. They try to go from 0 to 100 overnight. That leads to burnout. It's not sustainable. Instead, start with one small change. Wake up 30 minutes earlier. Replace one junk meal with a healthy one. Read 10 pages a day. These actions may seem insignificant, but done consistently, they change everything. Second, tie your habit to a system. Don't just say, I want to exercise more. Say, I will go to the gym at 6 a.m. every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Make it part of your routine. Put it on your cane. Put it on your calendar. Create triggers that remind you that. Make it so easy that it's harder to skip than to do it. Track your progress. When you can see the chain of wins, it motivates you to keep going. Use a journal, a habit tracker, or even a wall calendar. Every X you mark is a step forward. As the streak grows, so does your confidence. You start to see yourself differently. You're not just someone trying to write. You're a writer. You're not just someone who occasionally works out. You're an athlete. That shift in identity fuels even more consistency. But even with the best systems, you'll have off days. That's okay. Missing once is a mistake. Missing twice is the start of a new habit. So be kind to yourself, but stay disciplined. Get back on track quickly. Remember, the goal isn't perfection. The goal is momentum. The more consistent you are, the more those habits become automatic. And here's the beauty of it. Once your good habits are automatic, they stop requiring willpower. You don't have to fight with yourself to do them. They become part of who you are, just like brushing your teeth, just like checking your phone in the morning, which, by the way, is a habit you might want to rewire. Once a habit is baked into your identity, it becomes effortless. And that's when you're really dangerous. Not what you plan to do or what you say you'll do, but what you actually do, because that's the person you're becoming. If you want to be disciplined, today. If you want to be focused, start focusing today. If you want to build something great, lay a brick today. You don't need to see the entire staircase. Just take the next step. Then take it again tomorrow and again the next day. Time will do the rest, because time rewards the consistent. It multiplies the work. It compounds the effort. One day people will call you talented, lucky, or blessed. They won't see the early mornings. They won't see the small choices. You'll know. You'll know it was the habits. You'll know it was the system. You'll know it was the system. You'll know it was the work you did daily, quietly, faithfully, relentlessly. That shaped who you became. What you do daily becomes who you are long term. Choose wisely, act consistently, and let time turn those small habits into an extraordinary life. Most people wait. They wait for the right time, the right motivation, the perfect plan, or someone else's approval before they move. But those who build powerful systems, who rise to their full potential, understand one critical truth. Motivation may keep going, but it won't keep you growing. Discipline will. Motivation is emotional, fleeting, and often unreliable. It comes in waves. It's here today and gone tomorrow. But discipline is a choice. Discipline is what shows up even when motivation doesn't. Discipline is what keeps the system running when everything inside of you wants to quit. It's easy to be excited on day one. When you get a new gym membership, when you buy a new journal, when you launch a new project, day one is exciting. That burst of motivation makes it feel like you're unstoppable. But what about day 10? What about the day when you're tired? When the results aren't coming fast enough? When no one is clapping for you? That's when most people stop. That's when the system starts to fall apart unless discipline steps in. Discipline doesn't care about your feeling. Discipline doesn't ask if you're in the mood. It simply says, show up. And the people who learn to obey discipline more than they obey their emotions, those are the ones who break barriers. Those are the ones who build lasting legacies. Because feelings are unpredictable, but discipline creates consistency, creates success. When you're trying to build a system that supports your long-term goals, motivation can be the spark, but discipline is the engine. You need that spark to ignite the fire, sure, but fire fueled only by emotion dies fast. You've got to feed it with action, with intentional, deliberate, repeated effort. That's what discipline looks like. Doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it, especially then. And here's something people get wrong about discipline. They think it's about being harsh or joyless. They imagine it as punishment. But real discipline is actually an act of love. It's loving your future self enough to do the work today. It's loving your purpose enough to prioritize it over distraction. It's loving your potential enough to say no to comfort. That's not punishment. That's power. That's power. That's you choosing who you want to become. When you commit to discipline, you start to detach from the ups and downs of your emotions. You realize you don't have to feel like doing something to do it. You just have to decide. Think about elite athletes. They train when they're sore. They show up when they're tired. Not because they're always motivated, but because they're disciplined. They've made a commitment that doesn't depend on their mood. That's the difference between amateurs and professionals. Amateurs wait to feel like it. Professionals show up anyway. And you don't have to be a professional athlete to live this way. You can build this mindset into anything: your health, your finances, your relationships, your business. You just have to decide that your purpose matters more than your excuses. Your mission has to be bigger than your mood. That's where systems come in. A system takes the pressure off your emotion and replaces it with structure. If your system says you work out at 6 a.m., then it's not a question of whether you feel like it. You simply show up. You remove the decision from the moment and you replace it with discipline. But discipline isn't automatic. It's not something you're born with. It's something you build one decision at a time. You strengthen it like a muscle. And like any muscle, it grows through resistance. The more you practice doing what's hard, the easier it becomes. At first, it's a fight. You'll have to drag yourself through the discomfort, but eventually, discipline becomes your default. It becomes who you are. It's also important to understand that discipline is contagious. When you build it in one area of your life, it starts to bleed into others. You start eating better, and suddenly you're sleeping better. You start waking up earlier, and now you're more productive. You start reading daily, and now your thinking becomes sharper. That's the beauty of discipline. It creates a domino effect. It elevates everything around it. And the opposite is true too. A lack of discipline in one area will slowly erode others. That's why you can't afford to be casual about your habits. If you make excuses in your fitness, you'll start making excuses in your finances. If you allow laziness in your work, it'll show up in your relationship. Discipline isn't just about structure. It's about integrity. It's about aligning your actions with your values, even when it's inconvenient. This is why so many systems fail. People build their routines around how they feel instead of what they value. But if you value greatness, if you value freedom, if you value purpose, you need to design a system that supports those values and then fuel it with discipline. Because motivation might push you to start, but discipline ensures you finish. And finishing is where the transformation happens. You'll also notice something powerful. The more disciplined you become, your confidence grows. Why? Because confidence isn't just about believing in your potential. It's about trusting your preparation. When you know you put in the reps, when you know you've done the work even when it was hard, you walk differently. You show up stronger. That kind of self-trust can't be faked. It can only be earned, and you earn it through discipline. You don't need to be the most talented. You don't need to be the smartest. You just need to out-discipline everyone else. That's the great equalizer. Talent might give someone a head start, but discipline determines who stays in the race. And the race isn't to the fastest, it's to the one who refuses to quit. When you look at people who seem to be successful in every area of life, it's tempting to think they have something you don't. But more often than not, what they have is a system and the discipline to follow it. They didn't wake up with superpowers. They just got serious about their priorities. They learned how to act without waiting to be inspired. They decided that their mission was too important to leave in their hands of emotion. And you can do the same. You don't need perfect circumstances. You don't need perfect circumstances. You don't need constant motivation. You just need to decide today, right now, that you will do what it takes. Not just when it's easy, but especially when it's not. That's when the breakthroughs happen. That's when you stop being a slave to emotion and start becoming the architect of your future. So stop waiting for motivation. Stop waiting for permission. Choose discipline. Choose systems that keep you focused. Choose habits that align with your vision. And show up every single day, tired, discouraged, busy, distracted. Show up anyway. Because success doesn't go to the most excited. It goes to the most consistent. And consistency lives where discipline leads. Success isn't just about what you do one time. It's about what you do repeatedly. And building a system, any system, whether for your life, your business, your mindset, you must understand one thing. Excellence is built through habits, not occasional effort, not once in a while greatness, but daily habits that align with your purpose. Habits are the invisible architecture of your future. They either build you or break you. They either push you forward or hold you back. Every day, through your habits, you are casting a vote for the person you are becoming. When people talk about success, they often point to moments, the big win, the breakthrough, the spotlight. But those moments don't happen by accident. They are the result of daily disciplines, small decisions made consistently over time. You don't get fit by working out once. You don't master a skill by practicing it occasionally. You don't build a legacy by showing up when you feel like it. You build it with your habits, one repetition at a time. Think about the most successful people you admire. Maybe it's an entrepreneur, an athlete, a speaker, a leader. If you pull back the curtain on their lives, what you'll see isn't a highlight reel of inspiration. It's routine, it's repetition, it's structure. The most elite performers in any field have habits that support their vision. They don't rely on chance or chaos. They've created a system of predictable actions that move them forward, whether they feel like it or not. Habits are powerful because they compound. A small good habit practiced daily becomes a force. A 1% improvement may not seem like much today, but over time, it transforms everything. The same goes for bad habits. A little bit of procrastination, such a little bit of compromise, a little bit of distraction. It adds up, and it adds up fast. That's why you can't afford to overlook your habits. Your future is hidden in them. If you want to build a system that actually works, you need to make sure the core of that system is habit-based. Motivation is fleeting, and discipline is crucial. But it's your habits that sustain the results. When something becomes a habit, it requires less mental energy. It becomes part of your identity. You no longer ask, should I do this? You just do it. That's the level you want to reach. Not relying on willpower, but wired through habit. It's not about doing everything at once. In fact, the biggest mistake people make when trying to build habits is going too big, too fast. They try to overhaul their entire lives overnight. That's not sustainable. Sustainable change is slow, intentional, and layered. You don't change your life by flipping a switch. You change your life by building one brick at a time. You identify the key behaviors that support your system, and you install them slowly until they become automatic. That could mean starting with something as simple as making your bed, reading 10 pages a day, walking for 30 minutes, journaling for 5. Small doesn't mean insignificant. Small is how big things begin. And once those small habits take root, they open the door to bigger transformation. You're not just building discipline, you're building momentum. And momentum is everything. What makes habits stick is clarity and consistency. You need to know exactly what habit you're building and when you're going to do it. Vague goals don't build strong systems. Don't just say, I want to read more. Say, I will read 10 pages of a book every morning after breakfast. To clear your cue, the easier it is to follow through. When your brain knows what to expect, it's less likely to resist. It also matters how you frame your habits. If you see them as chores, you'll resist them. But if you see them as investments, as keys to your future, you'll value them. You'll prioritize them. The gym session isn't just a workout, it's your energy deposit. Reading isn't just mental stimulation, it's sharpening your head. Waking up early isn't a sacrifice, it's reclaiming your time. When you attach meaning to your habits, you connect them to your purpose. And purpose is a powerful motivator. Another thing about habits, they require environment. Your surroundings can either support your habits or sabotage them. If you're trying to eat healthy, but your kitchen is full of junk food, you're setting yourself up for failure. If you want to focus, but your phone is constantly buzzing, distraction becomes inevitable. If you want to build great habits, you have to create an environment where those habits are easy to practice. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it convenient, set yourself up to win. But even with all the right strategies, there will be days when your habits feel like a burden. Days when you don't want to show up. That's normal. The key is to never miss twice. Everyone slips. Everyone stumbles. What separates the successful from the average is the ability to get back on track quickly. Missing once is human. Missing twice becomes a pattern. Protect your momentum. Even on the bad days, show up in a small way. If you can't do the full workout, do a light stretch. If you can't write the full page, jot down a few thoughts. The point is to maintain the rhythm, because rhythm keeps the system alive. Habits also reinforce identity. Every time you complete a habit, you send a message to yourself. This is who I am. If you journal every day, you start seeing yourself as a reflective person. If you work out regularly, you see yourself as someone who values health. If you lead with integrity, you become someone who lives by principles. The more you repeat a habit, the more it becomes tied to your self-image. And your identity is one of the strongest forces driving your behavior. So if you want to change your life, start with changing what you do consistently and let those actions shape who you believe yourself to be. When you build habits into your system, You also create predictability, and predictability is peace. You reduce decision fatigue, you create more time, and you eliminate unnecessary stress. You don't have to keep reinventing the wheel. You have a framework, a rhythm. That's the power of habit-based systems. They make success more automatic. Less about willpower, more about structure. You can also refine your habits as you go. This isn't a rigid process. It's dynamic. As your goals evolve, so can your habits. What matters is that you stay intentional. You assess what's working, what's not, and you adjust. Stay committed to the mission. Your habits are tools. Use them to move closer to your vision. And remember, excellence is not an act. It's a habit. It's what you do repeatedly. If you want to lead, if you want to dominate in your lane, if you want to build something that lasts, then you must be obsessed with your habits. Every day is an opportunity to cast a vote for the person you're becoming. Every action is a seed you're planting. Don't underestimate the power of small, consistent steps. You don't need to be extreme. You just need to be consistent. One step at a time, one habit at a time, day by day. That's how you build a system. That's how you build your future. That's how you build greatness. When you're building a system, whether it's for personal growth, business, health, or purpose, you have to understand that feedback isn't criticism. Feedback is fuel. It's the mechanism that turns your effort into mastery, your failure into improvement, and your process into progress. Most people are afraid of feedback because they take it personally. They internalize it as judgment. But real champions, the ones who are committed to building something that lasts, they embrace feedback like oxygen. They chase it. They use it. They rely on it to sharpen their edge. Think about it. You can't fix what you're not aware of. If you're flying blind, you're going to crash. Maybe not today, but eventually. That's why feedback is essential. It reveals the blind spots you can't see on your own. It shows you where the gaps are. It challenges your assumptions. And it invites you to level up. You can't build a solid system on ego. You build it on truth. You build it by allowing yourself to be seen clearly, flaws and all. A system that isn't open to feedback is a system destined to fail. Because the world is always changing, the market is evolving. People are growing. Technology is shifting. If your system doesn't adapt, it becomes outdated. Feedback is the tool that keeps your system alive, relevant, and resilient. It's how you stay on track. It's how you grow from phase to phase. Now, not all feedback is created equal. Some feedback is noise. It comes from people who don't understand your vision, who don't live your values, who haven't built what you're building. That kind of feedback can distract you if you're not grounded. But then there's another kind of feedback, the kind that comes from people who care, who have wisdom, who have been where you want to go. That kind of feedback is gold. And if you're too proud to listen, you'll miss out on wisdom that could save you years of wasted effort. The system you're building needs to be bigger than your pride. If you're more concerned with being right than being excellent, your system will collapse under the weight of your ego. Excellence requires humility. It requires teachability. It requires the willingness to say, I don't know everything, and then go seek better answers. Let me tell you something that elite performers know. They don't wait for feedback to find them. They go looking for it. They ask for it, they crave it. Because they understand greatness isn't found in the echo chamber. It's found in the refining fire. It's found in the uncomfortable truth. They want to know what's not working. They want to hear what could be better. Because they're not building for applause. They're building for applause. They're building for impact. And impact requires refinement. If you want to be great, you have to stop fearing correction. Correction isn't rejection, it's direction. It's someone helping you see a better way. It's someone holding up a mirror and saying, this is where you can grow. And if you can accept that with gratitude instead of resentment, you'll unlock levels of potential most people never reach. Feedback also teaches you self-awareness. It builds emotional intelligence. It forces you to confront the gap between your intention and your impact. You might think you're doing everything right, but what are the results saying? What are the people around you saying? What is reality telling you? You have to be willing to examine that, to reflect, to pivot if needed. The most dangerous place to be is in your own head, thinking you're doing well, while the world is showing you otherwise and you're ignoring it. You can't grow if you're not honest with yourself. And feedback, when embraced, helps you get honest. It breaks the illusion. It brings clarity. Clarity is power. Let me break it down even further. Imagine you're trying to become a better communicator. You think you're doing well, but you keep getting blank stares or confusion from your audience. Without feedback, you might double down on your current approach. But with feedback, someone tells you, hey, you're using too much jargon. Your stories aren't connecting. That moment might sting, but it's a gift. You see, now you know what to adjust. Now you can improve. Now you can serve better. That's the power of feedback. It gives you the map to move forward. You have to build a system that invites feedback at every level. If you're a leader, create a culture where a team feels safe to speak up. If you're an entrepreneur, listen to your customer. If you're trying to grow personally, be around people who challenge you, who call you higher, who won't let you settle. Surround yourself with truth tellers, not just cheerleader. And then once you get the feedback, apply it. Don't just nod your head and go back to doing what you were doing. Real transformation happens when feedback becomes action. Take what's useful, apply it, measure it, and then go get more feedback. Make it a cycle. Learn, improve, test, repeat. That's how you build a system that evolves. Also, be patient with yourself. Feedback is sometimes hard to hear, especially when it touches something deep, like your identity or your values. But don't let that discomfort stop you from growing. Sit with it, process it, extract a lesson, and move forward. That's what maturity looks like. That's what growth demands. At the same time, learn to give yourself feedback. Don't always wait for others to point things out. Learn to review your own progress. Reflect daily. Ask yourself, what did I do well today? What could I have done better? What will I change tomorrow? This kind of self-feedback builds self-leadership. It makes you less dependent on external validation and more rooted in internal clarity. The truth is, feedback is not a one-time thing. It's not an event. It's a way of life. It's a core pillar in the system you're building. And if you can embrace it, really embrace it, not only will your system thrive, but so will you. You become more effective, more resilient, more impactful. You'll grow faster than you ever thought possible. So don't run from feedback. Don't hide from it. Don't dismiss it. Seek it. Learn from it. Use it. Let it refine you, shape you, sharpen you. That's how you build greatness. Not by pretending you've arrived, but by always being willing to improve. By building a system that is humble enough to listen and strong enough to evolve. Feedback is a gift. Treat it like one. The more you embrace it, the more powerful your system becomes. And the more powerful your system becomes, the closer you get to everything you were born to achieve.